Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I heard something. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are things with you?
Alhamdulillah, man. Had a little bout with uh, this all this what we call tree dust.
Okay. So pollen, you got some pollen and some other
Yeah,
things
yeah, exactly,
representing spring.
exactly. All right. Yeah, I'm trying to see if I could get some trees today and plant them. You know,
Hmm.
later
What kind
part
of
in the
what kind of
day.
what
So
kind of
maybe some
trees? You gonna go to the nursery and buy
fruit
trees? I
trees.
thought you. Okay.
No, fruit trees. Yeah, ball and burlap.
Okay.
I don't
So
have that kind of time, man. And I don't have that the time it takes to and to you have to be at wherever you are to 2 or 3 times a week to cultivate
mhm.
them. And that can be a problem for me. So my aunt is my backup. So. She,
Okay.
uh, with the trees, all she has to do is just, put a little water on them when it's dry, you know,
Hmm.
and uh, and keep those deers at bay with her BB gun, maybe. So,
Yeah, family's important. We've got 10 acres that split between growing hemp and growing bamboo.
uh-huh.
And it's almost 2 hours away from me. But
Okay.
I have so many relatives that
Yeah,
live
that
right
they can,
there.
yeah, they can,
I'm
they can step in for you. Uh-huh.
Yeah, they just basically walk out their back door back to,
Hmm.
where we planted and take care of everything. And luckily things like hemp in particular,
Yeah,
they hemp doesn't
you don't have that
take
much.
anything, man. Hemp
Yeah.
takes care of hemp.
Hmm.
It's wild.
Hmm.
Bamboo's pretty
Yeah.
tough too. Bamboo's really tough. It's a hardy plant.
Uh-huh. Right. Well, I wanted to. I plant fruit trees so that that's a source of foods for later to do.
Hmm.
You know, you could do. You can can fruit and make
Right.
jelly, and So these are things that in case everything shuts down. You'll have at least you could eat some pear preserve. You know, so hopefully we'll get through some of this criminal activity that's happening around the world. So,
I think people are going to find out, anybody that gives it any thought, that this particular type of activity that we have going on around the world,
hmm,
we're in the beginning stages of it. We're just
yeah,
getting
yeah,
started. We're
that's
just
right.
getting started.
Wait, yeah, can you imagine people who are used to eating 3, 4, 5 times a day, not having going to the grocery store, you can't find any kind of food, maybe not even cat food or dog food.
Well, we are running out of the last group of people who went through that, because people who were
Uh-huh.
alive during the Depression, World War II,
Yeah. That's
they're the
what, yeah.
last group that went through that.
Yeah. Well, it'll be the first group that will go through the next phase, and and they're not going to be, when we talk about when people think, Ramadan is a month that represent heat, right? Hmm.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. Well, they said the world will end in fire. Before it was water, now it's fire, right?
Yep.
Now we know you don't have nothing in your stomach. Your stomach feel like you know, it's burning, and when that fertilizer and propane can't get to the design, and see, and the thing about it is wait until winter comes and you can't get propane or uh, fuel oil or gasoline. I mean, it's you can imagine some of these people go crazy, man. And they see you with your and then they try to blame somebody, blame it on the immigrants, blame it on the lazy Negroes, blame it on these people. Why you haven't prepared yourself for this? Yeah, so it's just a
And
matter of
that's
time.
but that's just here. If you go to
I know. No.
other parts
Oh
of the
yeah, yeah.
world,
You can. Oh
they're
yeah, you
not
can. Oh yeah.
they're not
Stick up.
blaming us.
No.
They're blaming the next tribe over, or they're
Yeah,
blaming
and you can't.
the other
Yeah,
ethnic group
exactly.
within their country.
Of course. Yeah, that's the easiest way.
Yeah.
And then when you might have a stack of dollars, but the dollars no good. You have to go and get some renminbi, wands, So where you get that from? Hey, I don't know. There's no Chinese banks around here. I got a few Chinese dollars in the back there with me when I went to China, so that'll work for a while. No, I'm only joking now. But I do have some. I have one or two that I keep. So, it's something that you got to think about, at least.
Assalamu alaikum.
What's your
Well,
alternative,
alaikum salam, Adam.
Hey, my salam.
Salam alaikum, Sister Patricia.
Walaikum assalam.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Patricia.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Patricia.
Yeah, I had turned TV on, and it was a Steve Harvey in Africa segment. And the
This
question
first
was,
year?
uh,
Uh,
the
I would say,
question, the
Steve,
question was,
go ahead.
what Botswana is a country, said, what do y'all have to complain about? That was the question. So start naming stuff. So Steve's saying, well, why y'all complaining? Y'all got free education. Education is free. So then they start putting up the answers that people gave. Low wages, the roads are bad, uh, the government's bad, the weather's bad. They start coming up with stuff.
Yeah.
And I said, heck, that's coming this way.
Yeah.
we,
And
we,
that's
we gonna have that and no free education and no and free healthcare. We're gonna have
we have maybe the most expensive education in the world.
in the world
We have the
and
most
healthcare
expensive healthcare
and healthcare. I understand.
in the world. Our roads and bridges are gone to
They're getting
nothing.
terrible. They're getting terrible. Yeah.
Yes. Our dams are in need of severe repair.
Right.
If you live in a certain part of Wyoming, I hope you have a landline because you can't get cell service, you can't get anything from internet unless you're willing to pay $200 a month for whatever Elon Musk is putting up in the sky, and on and on and on. You got to have a satellite phone to communicate if you drive more than a quarter mile from your house. Yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason that people, a certain group of people in the United States, have gone on this retrenchment kick of why are we helping people in other parts of the world when we're falling apart at home, which to me is a short-sighted way of
Waiting.
thinking of things. But when we start doing what Steve Harvey did with the people in Botswana, and people here start naming things that they're dissatisfied with, you start to understand how people whose worldview stops at their driveway, why they do the retrenchment, why they want everything to stay in America and not help anybody else.
Wait until Social Security stops.
Well, that's even worse then, because then it's really everything has to stay in the United States. We can't send a dime outside the country.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, this is what happens to people on a worldwide basis. Is when
Right.
your
Mhm.
6-year-old child isn't eating. Why are we worried about whether they're eating in Canada or not? We need some food right here in Argentina. And that's a really short-sighted way of looking at the world, especially from an Islamic point of view. But
Mhm.
it's a natural occurrence with the human.
Yeah, Allah in the Quran states that most of the people don't know, and Imam Muhammad would remind us of Margaret Mead, the cultural anthropologist, saying of human progress is never done by the many, it's always the few. So
Mhm.
this is a pattern of human life. Allah has a sunnah, a way of operating, and uh, in people's day-to-day goings on, there are those that are struck by a significant emotional event that elevates their sensitivity and their consciousness, and they choose to engage, find some way to engage in making a contribution to serving God's will and plan. Alhamdulillah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And right now, I think we would all agree that most of those voices are being drowned out. They're still there,
And ideas
but
whose time has come cannot be covered up.
well, okay, I
Or
will
held
agree.
back.
I will agree. I will agree with you, but I will say that timing factors into that. And I think that timing factors into that much more so today, because with media and the way we have media today, you can move huge amounts of people and sentiment within hours.
I agree.
And there's much more darkness being spread. But when I say darkness, I'm not talking about evil. When I say darkness, I'm talking about the negative aspects of our life, things that are negative in nature. It's like when, what they used to say in the newspaper business, if it bleeds, it leads, right? Is that
Yeah.
we hear and are impacted much more so by the negative things that are going on in the world than we are about the positive things that say that small group of people that you're talking about, those positive things that they're doing. It's buried on page 31 at the bottom of a 57-page document,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Nobody reads that,
yeah,
right? Because you're
yeah.
by the time you get to page 3, you're throwing the thing away because of the negativity that you're being impacted by,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I can't recall where it is, but there's a saying, you go on, do your worst,
Right.
this is a certainty that Allah is bringing forward, and it's on his timetable. And I've been reminded more and more about the belief of Qadr and how Qadr operates in terms of our ability to make choices. And that's how Allah is moving this thing. When we make proper choices, when we respect, the Qadr, which is everything has the element of good or harm. If we use things properly, we get the benefit. If we misuse things, we get the harm. And this is a
Hmm.
process that's bringing this new day, a new reality, a new paradigm forward.
Yeah, I'm with you, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit today. Assalamu alaikum, Imam Tariq,
Walaikum assalam.
and let's officially open. Imam Tariq, I would love for you to open us up this morning, and we'll officially start the meeting.
Okay. Um, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
I mean, so I want to, Omar, I'm teeing you up. So give me just a little bit of rope here, and I'm teeing you up. So I caught about 30 minutes of study al-Islam this morning, and had a sister on there with her mother, and I want to say maybe one of her brother may have been on there, or cousin, family member, but they started a nonprofit that basically deals directly with the impact that cancer has on individuals and families. And part of what they're doing is raising funds within their 501(c)(3) to be able to directly help those families that are being impacted financially by going through cancer treatment. If anybody that's had cancer or it's been in your family, you know how expensive and how this can just wreck your finances. So they're doing something wonderful, and they're in our community. It's just a beautiful thing what they're working on and what they're doing. And Michael, to what you were saying, there's that small group of people that's doing something there. And, I see the same thing with what we're doing at Graceline and the initiative that we're working on that kicked off, another, I would say, what's a good word? Because it's not Genesis, because we've done it before, but another evolution of where we're going with helping our community in another area of life to be able to manage and become stronger. And this past Tuesday, we had the first of our sessions of the 5 that's going to be repeated and repeated and repeated. And we have both the presenter, and I think we have at least one of the participants who were there on Tuesday night with us tonight. And Omar, I'm going to throw it to you. Talk us through a little bit about what that was like, getting that started on Tuesday night, and where it's going, because we got another session coming up this coming Tuesday. Just fill us in on all of that.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Thank you, Salam.
Wa alaikum
Alaikum
assalam.
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 We had, at least in my perspective, and Sister Patricia can definitely give her perspective because she was a participant. I thought it went really well. The participants were engaging. They understood the material as it was being presented. So that let me know that the way that we were presenting the information, the way that it was shared with them, it was not in a way that went over their head. They could not understand, and that was one of the primary reasons that we want to do this. Keep this very basic, keep it understandable to the everyday person, and really set a foundation in which each of the participants can build on. So these are personalized action plans that if you really want to put a technical term to what it is we're doing, each module builds on itself, and each exercise uh, 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 builds onto the roadmap that the participant is going to follow. And our goal is to help the participant move through this blueprint that they're building for themselves and their families, become more financial independent, more financial secure. One of the foundational methods that we're using in this program is the control, secure, and choices method. And basically what that does is it sets the tone for us to be able to think about our money in ways where we can control it, right? Where do we have control with our money? And directing every dollar to some type of category, right? It could be investment, wants, or our essentials. And this is a behavior shift as well as a mental shift about how money works and how it functions in our lives. And being able to gain control of money as it comes in and as it leaves, being able to secure our future by investing in ourselves, investing in our future, and then having when we do that successfully, it leads us to have better choices or have increased choices. Right, we're not forced to do things that we don't want to do. We're not forced to work in our retirement years, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right, because now we have better control over our resources that Allah blesses us with. So that's basically what the first module covered. Next Tuesday, we will be walking the participants through setting smart financial goals. And these, like I say, each week we're gonna build on each thing that we do. And at the end of the 5 week course, the participants will have an individualized action plan or a roadmap that they can follow beyond the 5 weeks of participating in this webinar. They will be on a life, journey in trying to become more financial stable and secure in the resources that they have in their households. So I'm gonna stop there, and Sister Patricia can share her perspective because she was a participant in the first webinar.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum, family. I
Alaikum
was
assalam.
I was a little disappointed in the beginning because it was only two of us. And I know for myself, I sent out the flyer to everyone I can think of, and I'm so surprised that no one uh, took it seriously. And because I just can't believe everyone that I know is financially secure or doesn't have any financial curiosities on how to become financially secured. Or, but anyway, as I mentioned, it was just two of us, and but Omar was so excited and welcoming, and it was like he was speaking to 10 to 20 people, and so that made me feel a little better about it. But in my situation, about me being on a fixed income, it's you know I I do have a few investments, but I don't have a lot of room, a lot of room, finances coming in where I can divert here and there. But the young lady and her daughter that were on the line, they're younger, and so we keep hope alive for them. And as I was saying to Omar, he said, "Well, what is your idea of a financial security?" And I was saying, if you're able to live off your interest, but then as we know, there's only one Michael Jackson, so I can't see myself living off interest. But the presentation was awesome, and the homework that we have is going to help us look at our finances a little closer and be a little more vigilant on how we spend our money, especially on a daily basis. We spend money on coffee and at all those things. That those type of things add up. But to make a long story short, I enjoyed the presentation. I'm looking forward to these upcoming weeks. Thank you, Omar, for letting me blow the wax out of your ear.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Thank you,
Uh,
sister. Thank you for the kind words.
Assalamu alaikum. Sister Patricia, I have a question for you. And I want to give you the question now. And I want you to answer the question 5 weeks from now
Okay.
when you've gone through all five.
Okay.
Because I without mentioning the names, I know the sister and the daughter who were the other participants on
Okay.
Tuesday night.
Hmm.
And here's my thought. Based on what you said about being on a fixed income, and
Uh-huh.
your maneuverability is limited at
Yeah.
this stage of what you can
Yes,
do.
sir.
Not that you can't do anything, but it is limited.
Yes.
Do you have sons, daughters, nieces, nephews, so on and so forth, who do have more maneuverability to make changes?
Yes.
And if you do, how could your knowledge that you're gaining, and this is why I want it to be 5 weeks from now, right?
Okay.
What the knowledge that you're gaining help them to better plan their financial future that also may allow them to assist you financially today.
Hmm.
So that's a whole bunch of words and a whole bunch of stuff to think about. But
Okay.
I want you to think about that and maybe give us an answer where how you feel about that 5 weeks from now.
All right. I sure will.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm not at my best today, and I don't remember if I gave the greetings coming on earlier. But I wound up with a situation with having more month than money. Okay, and I intend to engage this process that Brother Omar that you're sharing with us, and I intend to find a way to get. Uh, I don't know if I can join at the end of the month and to connect with the rest of the process that you're dealing with, but uh, I, I will at the end of the month have the ability to plug in some kind of way. But I wanted to just quickly say, Imam Muhammad has pointed us to changing our paradigm from being consumers to investors. I remember him asking the question, well, if you're paying your rent every month, look at how you could pay your rent or your mortgage for a whole year. He was stretching, projecting, stretching our thinking in terms of finances. And I'll stop there.
Omar, talk a little bit about the workbook itself and the interactive nature of the workbook. And I know Michael asked the question about, coming in, probably maybe looking at the third session. And I know that you would supply him with session 1 and session 2 with recordings of those sessions so he could kind of play catch up, like, he registered late for class in college, right? Late registration, he's going to have to catch up. I know that he could get that. But the workbook itself, if I'm not mistaken, is interactive in that you can start playing with making financial adjustments in the workbook at some point in time. And I want everybody to do what I did in the 6th grade, and that's try to read ahead. So I looked like I was smarter than everybody else. But at some point in time, the participants are going to be able to use that workbook to adjust their budget as real life things impact them, or as they're looking to see what adjustments would do for them in the future. Am I right or wrong on that?
You are correct. So the workbook is designed to be flexible as life changes, right? As you move from being a young adult to retirement years, it is designed to grow with the family, with the individual, as financial situations changes. As well as if income changes at any point in your life development stages, right? We all go through those ups and downs with our financials. So the workbook is designed to be flexible enough to ebb and flow with those stages in our lives. We're also developing some other value added products that people can subscribe to that they can track their progress. That is under development, and as we refine that, we're definitely going to better test that app, and people will have free access on the front end while we are testing the functionality of the app. And then it will move to a subscription based type of service. But we're looking to do something like that. We're also, as participants are moving through the modules, they will receive emails from me around reminders of some of the best practices that are listed in the workbook, just as inspiration, right? Keeping people motivated and inspired to continue the journey to financial freedom. We're also working on a newsletter that also people can subscribe to that gives weekly boosts. Right. This idea that we need this constant encouragement when we're dealing with, kind of heavy topics like financial management and et cetera. So yes, this program is being designed to grow with individuals as they go through different stages in their life development.
Fantastic. So that, to me, a tinkerer, it would be one of the most unique and probably helpful tools. Is just to be able to play around and see the effect. And the newsletter sounds like a great deal. So what I'm about to mention may or may not be a part of the overall the 5-week sessions. So this is real life situation that has now happened to me and my family or ancillary family, in one case you might call it, in the last 5 years. So the first case involves one of my older sisters who had accumulated quite a comfortable estate, let's say. Not wealthy, but comfortable. Very comfortable estate. She was 70, 75 years old at the time that this happened, in that she became ill. She had to have bypass surgery. And the surgery in and of itself went well, but her movement, her ability to move, her long-term ability to probably take care of herself was going to be somewhat limited. My sister happened to be somebody, well, still happens to be someone, she's still alive, who is very private. She keeps everything very close. She's not a great communicator, so on and so forth. When she became ill the second time, she was moved to an assisted living facility for basically around the clock nursing care. And the prognosis was that she was probably either going to have to have whatever they call it, palliative care, but I mean, she wasn't near death because obviously she's still alive. She was either going to be at home and have to have a nurse or a care provider of some kind that was with her most of the time, or she needed to be in a skilled nursing center, which is the nice little name they give nursing homes these days, a skilled nursing center. And she didn't really have much communication with the rest of the family that this was going on. Me, to a limited extent, she only told me certain things. And most of us who are on this call, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if you've been through this and you now understand it much better than most of us did. Your Medicare coverage only provides a certain amount of financial assistance when you go to like these skilled nursing centers. So they can basically attach your bank accounts, your insurance, I think annuities may be exempt, but I may be wrong on that. I need to do some more research on that. So when when they moved her from the hospital to the skilled nursing center, there's like a 90-day window when the decision is made. And basically what I'm going to tell you is, about $300,000 in in assets that she had in the bank and savings accounts of different kinds was basically just taken away from her as a supplementary payment for being in a nursing home and that type of thing, because I think she had the lowest or the regular level of Medicare coverage, which is A and B. So since there was going to be other stuff. So a lot of times we in the African American community in particular don't think about long-term care and long-term care insurance and planning for that as, say, part of our 50% of the 50-30-20 plan, right? There are certain things that are not at the top of the list that goes into that 50-30-20 planning that we now should start to really think about is we have an aging population.
Yes.
So I now have an ex-brother-in-law who is in the same situation, who refuses, because there's this little thing that you can do that if you know that you're going to be moving into one of these situations, is transfer your assets to a family member,
Yes.
right? And then you just claim that you're too poor to pay for all this stuff. And I hate to say this, but the government pays for it, right? And a family member has your assets, and they can do nice little things for you and all that stuff. But in other words, your money doesn't get taken away from you, and the government has it or whoever has it, private nursing homes and this type of thing. And I
Yes.
think this is another one of those areas of finance that we, just like death planning and where am I going to be buried and what's my life insurance and all this stuff, we don't like to talk about, but that we have to deal with. And I don't want to be a Donnie Downer on Sunday, but I do think this is important,
Yes.
and that, it has to be a part of our discussions when we're doing our financial planning.
Thank you for that.
So, Omar, after that very down period, I'm going to throw it back to you to bring some charm and cheer back into Sunday morning.
I mean, yes, Brother Edward, you bring up an excellent point. That when we are putting together our list of household essentials, we need to think about current and future needs of the individual or the family. Um, Also, elder care. Many of us, particularly my generation, we are beginning now to start taking care of our parents and what that looks like. Because also in the African American households, we don't believe in most of us, right? We don't put our parents in homes. We take care of them. So that becomes an additional financial obligation as well. So thinking about that as we're getting older, how are we going to take care of our aging parents? How do we take care of a dependent child? Right. I think Ma'am Talib has mentioned this as well about the family needs around a dependent child. So having those conversations and looking, kind of what you're basically saying is having those reality checks, right? We may not be experiencing this currently, but what if, right? Going through those what if scenarios and then having some type of plan in place on if that happens. We pray to Allah that we have family members that will be able to take care of us. But there are situations where um, uh, severe cases of dementia, where the person has to go into a care facility. So we need to prepare for those types of kind of life changing circumstances. So I agree with you 100%. We do need to talk about that more and build that into some of the conversations we having. What I try to do is leave the conversation open enough where everyone feels like their situation, they can relate to the information that we're sharing, not being so prescribed with what is essential in your household, but it is it's a self-determined type of definition that the family needs to walk, or the individual needs to walk through those series of exercises that we have in the workbook. That workbook is designed to have people think about these types of things, right? Without really suggesting that this may be an essential for them. What is essential for me may not be essential for someone else, right? So, you know, that's what I mean about kind of self-determining these kind of categories, what essential, our wants, and then our kind of our needs, um, uh, in those kind of broad categories. So uh, I don't want to, kind of be over, kind of over prescribe to folks what they should consider as essential, as a want, or as something investment. So I try to leave it open for people. I also wanted to encourage people to. I do realize that people are on different budgets. It could be fixed budget. It could be, I mean, different incomes. It could be a fixed income. It could be an income that is limited on what they can, with how they can use their funds. So if you see value in participating in this program, don't let the lack of being able to pay for the program prevent you from participating. Reach out to us. We can make decisions based on a case by case basis. We rather to have behinds in the seats that can benefit from the information that we're sharing, rather than to get the funds. We will. I think everyone on this call and everyone that is dedicated to this process believes that the money is going to come on the back end of this thing, right? And if you believe, don't let the lack of money prevent you from being a participant in this program. Reach out to us, we'll work it out. So don't let that be a barrier. The second thing I want to say is, I have always taken the position that regardless of how many people show up at a workshop, how many people, I I give the same presentation and the same effort and the same spirit if 400 people was in the room. Numbers to me don't matter. It is the fact that someone showed up, showed interest in the information that you want to share with them, and that inshallah we leave them better. When they leave with the information, we leave them better than what they when they came in. That is my ultimate goal, and the passion behind why we wanted to do this type of educational program. So I hope that is helpful.
I thank you for that. Allah reward you. And Edward, I want to thank you because you I just admire your curiosity and your willing to share information. I've gained a lot from the communications that you've shared. Thank you.
Appreciate you saying that. Something else that my curious mind ran across this weekend. So I was in the middle of listening to I was in the middle of a very boring meeting. Was not somebody from our community that was leading this meeting. It's somebody from outside our community. It was very boring. So I actually, during the meeting, which luckily was on Zoom, I had the opportunity to do a little YouTube search. And I ran across a very, very interesting, well-educated Arab brother who was talking about finances from an Islamic perspective. And I'm not going to bore you with everything that's in the video. At some point in time, I'm going to share the videos that I ran across. So I thought they were excellent. But what struck me was one of these particular videos, and I think, hold on one second, let me see if I can find the title of the video is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, do these 5 things to become wealthy. That's the title of the video, YouTube. And the brother started going through these things, and everything is from a Quranic perspective. I mean, it's all, ayats and, deeper meaning of these ayats. In other words, he's discussing all of these ayats. And I initially, when he first started going through these five things, so he gets to number one, and I've got pen in hand, and I'm ready to take notes. And then he started talking about the first thing. And I just put my pen down. And okay, so then went to number two. I pick my pen up and I'm ready to write it down. He starts talking, and I put my pen down. And just kept going. So by the time he got to number four, on number four, I didn't even pick my pen up. I just left it down and kept listening. And sure enough, through four and through five, he said something that sounded like he had been on AM 360 on a Saturday morning and listened to Imam Tariq. And when you listen to this video on YouTube, I'm telling you, you're going to get the same impression that I got. Is that he listened to our Imam Tariq on a Saturday morning at 10 o'clock Central Time, and he took good notes. This guy has, on that particular video, he has 138,000 views. And it's kind of reflective, and this is not I'm not throwing stones, because I don't want any stones coming back my way. So I'm not throwing stones. We have in our community, and many of the people are in this meeting as we speak. We have tons of intelligent, enlightened, Islamically based people who are working their tails off to share the right kind of information with the world. And we're putting out the same level of information that's enriching other people. And I know about, our ice isn't as cold as their ice and all that stuff, right? Get that. What I don't get, and maybe it's our fault that we don't market correctly, or we're not using best practices in that area, is why someone like Imam Tariq doesn't have 70,000 views, half of what the other person has. And I'm not really trying to make this a down Sunday. This is reality to me. That somehow the value of what we are putting out there, which I can attest is as high a value as you are going to find anywhere, is not getting more eyes and ears. Because I peruse, this is part of the world that I live in. I peruse this stuff on constant. Very intelligent people, highly successful people, people making millions of dollars. And they're saying the exact same thing the Imam Tariq is saying, they're running the same types of webinars and seminars that Omar is doing for us at this moment. So I'm a little bit confused. I'm encouraged because we're doing this and I see it being repeated by other people that everybody thinks is a guru or super smart, highly successful. And we're matching and exceeding them. So, Sister Kalita, I'm going to throw it over to you. Assalamu alaikum, sister.
Walaikum assalam, Brother Edward, and to everyone. Excellent observation. And alhamdulillah, many of us have also seen that same observation. We have to also remember that Allah says, let there rise from amongst you a few who enjoin what is right and forbid what is wrong. In that same sense, we as Muslims are not the majority here in the United States of America, and we all know that. However, as individuals that network, many of us network to the same people. We have our communities under Imam Mufti Muhammad Rahimullah Alayh, and also our immigrant communities. But if we look at our lives personally and professionally, are we really interacting on levels as are other people? Like you said, other professionals, maybe of other orientations or religions. We don't have the network outside of us, the large network outside of us. And in addition to that, we don't have the promotion and marketing. So we have to find another way to increase our numbers. And the first way is to personally reach out to people that you know that are not just Muslim in your community at your local level. That will be a good starting indicator, but also make sure that you are professionally qualified, not just in your community among Muslims. That's one of the things that I noticed. You may be doing certain things at your masjid among Muslims, among believers of like minds and like nature, but you're not really equipped or qualified to be at other settings with other people because you don't may not have the educational background, the experience, you're not invited to the table. So in order for us to increase our numbers, one of the ways is for us to create, like Imam Thomas Abdul Salam did, a platform for other people to come to us, but also know that as on an individual level, our perspectives have to start being more globalistic. What are we doing with our personal lives? What type of people are we connecting with daily? And me personally, I work now with a lady who is not Muslim, but very spiritually grounded, and she's always running to me for answers. But she observes me and she notices everything. She's very detail oriented. And a lot of times I'm doing things organically. So I learn a lot from her, which she gives me feedback about myself. So people are looking, they're looking for things that are different, but we also have to be able to reach a broader audience. That's what I'm trying to say. So how can we do that and not really compare ourselves because the media doesn't support us like they would support someone of the secular society? Okay. So we have to find other avenues like networking with Imam Yahya Abdullah. I know he had a station. I know there's other imams and not just imams, people that we don't know in our community that are not the poster child, the poster person. We have a problem in our community of when we get somebody good, that's all we want to push forward, the same people over and over and over again. And that is really it's not interesting. If you see the same people over and over and over again at every event for decades, I mean, you would want to go to the same movie, 10 times in the same year. So just look at some strategies that we can increase the diversity within ourselves and even the way we think, and then move a little differently in our interpersonal lives. And I'll just stop right there. That's the start, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah, thank you, Sister Khalida, for that reminder. I'm reminded, that we we're still transitioning, that this is not a sprint situation that we're in. And Allah is showing us with, in my opinion, Brother Omar Muhammad, that he is sending us the help that we need in these various areas, the critical issues that we're dealing with. Allah is sending us the help. we've got lastly, we've got tremendous opposition to the establishment of the kind of life that Allah wants for us. And Imam Muhammad told us, not only the opposition, but the work is a tremendous work. It's a big job. And so we have to continually pray to Allah for what we need and then actively work towards it. Look for it, look for it, pray for it, and then look for it, go after it. Like you said, you made contacts with individuals that have a spirit that they're attracted to you. And Imam Muhammad told us that that's another way of reproducing ourselves, where we have individuals that are kind of drawn to us, and we have to put into them or share with them uh, this vision that Allah has given us in terms of a better life for everybody. Thank you.
Sister Patricia put something in the chat. I think this, and I've always kind of thought this. I haven't said it, but I'll read what she says. It's in the chat. Unfortunately, we are a group model that do not see our value unless those from other ethnic groups lift us up. Psychological detriments from slavery. That's in parentheses. We have to ask Allah to remove that dark spot that plagues our community. If not, others will continue to rape and benefit from our creativity. And that, yeah, that is, there's a lot of truth. There's a lot of truth in that. And obviously when you don't control certain aspects of society, or you don't have a really strong stance or a strong position in certain aspects of society, whether that's the media that we talk about, the media not promoting our interests and our beliefs and things like that, or we don't have the financial clout to to make a to make a strong statement. In other words, if you have a certain amount of financial clout, people come to you because they think they can benefit from being they can benefit from being close to you when you have a certain amount of financial clout. And in an effort to gain your friendship, they will also promote you to other people because they want to be seen as someone who's helpful to you, that you would want to be in their circle, so to speak. And even though we have a certain amount, I think there's pockets of the country, New Jersey, the New Jersey area around Philadelphia, yes, Newark, areas like that, where the political clout is definitely growing. I think Atlanta would probably be another example of that. Washington, D.C., Chicago to a lesser extent, but still there's evidence that there is that particular type of political clout that exists in those areas. We're second thought to the
Philadelphia.
yeah, I did. Philadelphia, New York. I kind of linked those two areas together. I guess part of my personal disappointment, and what Sister Kalita said is 100% right on, is that we have to extend the circle. It's not thinking the box has to be bigger. We have to include more people in the box. We gotta have a bigger box and touch more people, obviously. But I think since day one, when Imam W.D. Muhammad took over, I think that's been a part of the process. And I think that, that's something that he recognized. and always work very hard on of extending our influence or extending our reach of the number of different communities, both within the Islamic community and outside, that we touched, so that people got to know us on different, much higher plane, much higher level. Internally, what are we doing though? And I beat this drum a few times about numbers. Numbers run around in my head all the time. I'm always playing with numbers and trying to get to exact numbers on different things of how, what is our community? What do we consider our community? What are those numbers? Are there 750,000 of us? If there are 500,000 of us? If there are 1,000,002 of us, say in the United States of America and Caribbean islands together, and all that, and of our own population, those who align themselves with Imam W.D. Muhammad, what percentage of our own population are we touching and influencing and engaged with, and that in turn are following as much as humanly possible everything that's going on in our community and benefiting from all the wonderful things that we have happening in our community. And I get in my own head, I get the feeling that, again, I'll use this term that I say over and over again, we're disconnected.
I agree with you wholly.
And I don't, since we all claim Imam W.D. Muhammad as our leader, I don't get the disconnection. I don't understand it.
I get it.
Okay. Well, you guys will
Yeah,
explain to me
I
again for
do.
the 199th time. And
Yes,
one of these days I'll understand it. Right now, today, I don't understand it.
I,
So when I'm thinking about Michael, well, that's your program, Imam Tariq's program, even Study Islam, which has a wonderful following. I was on there today. They had 150 something people that were logged in on YouTube if they live stream. So wonderful audience.
yes.
They should be having to upgrade their services to be able to have 500 people on Zoom. If you're simply talking about our community, just our community, I'm not talking about the Presbyterians or or the Reformed Jews or the whoever that might want to put their nose in the tent and hear what's going on. I'm just saying from our community on a Sunday morning, that program with its history should have 500 people. So Imam Tariq's program on a Saturday morning, when he's talking about business and entrepreneurship, which every program, including this one, we get down to it, we talk about things that Imam W.D. Muhammad pushed to be able to support our community. And one of them is being a business owner, so to speak, and all that, and everything that comes with that. There should be the number that your Saturday's a busier day for most people. So the number that Study Al Islam had today maybe should be the number that you have on a Saturday morning. That 150 should be on a Saturday morning, and the 500 should be on Sunday. That's my thoughts. If our community is as large as we would like to think it is, and if we were connected, which obviously we are not. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Cheryl Sedif. And I don't know all of your honoraries. I mean, I know that you're government and this, and you're going to have to remind me again all of that. But Assalamu alaikum and welcome this morning.
Assalamualaikum. My biggest honorarium is mommy.
Okay, we will go with that. Oh, by the way, and this is you have my email address, I believe.
Yes. Yes, that's where I got this link. I think that's the right one, correct?
Yes, I need your phone number, and I don't want you to give it out of here, but I need to talk to you about something.
Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I am not at, I will be home. I'm traveling as usual. I will be traveling back this afternoon, so I will be back tonight. So I will send that to you. I will be home for maybe 2 days and then I'm back again in the skies. So
Okay. All
I will
right.
send that. I will send it to you when once I leave the hotel. No problem, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Michael,
Assalamualaikum.
your hand is up.
Yeah, yes, I want to address this issue that it is an issue of the type of social conditioning that we've undergone and certain information that certain leaders have put out in terms of uh, our social architecture as Muslims associated with Imam Muhammad. Uh, he's told us that the leadership is with the resourceful people. And then, we've had certain conditioning where we work against our own best interest. And that's still with us. That's going to be a challenge with us going down the road. The kind of and the environment that we in terms of being independent, the rugged individualism. And I shared with an audience how I kind of saw this strategy. I studied Alabama history, and in Alabama history, laws were passed where no Indian tribe could own land in Alabama, only Indian individuals. And then following that establishment of law, we had the Trail of Tears, where they were driven out of Alabama, Georgia, and other places in the South. So this is in terms of the opposition that we have in terms of getting the life that we want. Uh, there are things in the way of us organizing ourselves and having individuals that have this statistical analysis in terms of, like you said, numbers, where we are, what capacities that we may have, that sort of thing. Allah is sending us this help. We have the thought leaders on this line, and we see them often. We see them on Study Al Islam, the thought leadership that we have. But now we've had an obstacle thrown in our way in terms of a misinterpretation of Imam Muhammad saying that we should be autonomous. But he was aware and he admired the Focolari leadership and their structure and their ability to make transitional leadership moves. We haven't had our thought leaders come forward and show us that this is the way for us. We have to have more connectivity, and this idea of autonomy and the way it's interpreted is something that's problematic for us right now. Also, it's problematic that the thought leadership, the resourceful people, accepting the responsibility to helping us to structure ourselves better. And I appreciate the kind of questions and the kind of information that you give, Brother Edward, and that the map 5 MAP 5 program on AM 360 gives, to help us to navigate. And I think we'll be able to do more. It's a process. It was a process that caused us to be dysfunctional, and it's a process for us to become more functional. So I'll stop with that.
Yeah, that Imam Adam Bia and I have had long discussions about the autonomy issue and what Imam meant when he said that. And I perused so many of his lectures looking for clarity on that in that particular area to the point that I don't think there's any clarity to be had on that particular area, that individuals and groups are basically going to make up their own minds as to what his intention was when he spoke those words and where
And
that
that
was coming from. What was the backdrop? Why was
and
he
that
saying it at that time?
Yes, and that's the issue. We have internal enemies. I'm going to just say it straight. We've got internal enemies that are working against our best interests. Some of them are conscious, and Imam Muhammad made a joke. It was real. He said, your opposition may be sleeping in the bed with you. And he didn't say female. He said,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that's what we're dealing with, in my opinion.
So my perspective on that, or where I am with all of that, after kind of coming to my own individual conclusion that there are lots of people with different minds about what he meant, was that I don't even want to engage in the argument anymore about what he meant. At this point, I will be satisfied with information.
Yes,
Like, I want to know who is in our community. I want to know the
yes,
numbers. I would like to
yes,
know, basically, I want a census. I want to know
yes,
who we
absolutely.
are, ages, sexes, parts of the country where there's density, parts of the country where there's not, where resources need to be concentrated, where there needs to be focus on certain areas. Like I forget the brother's name. I think he's been on Not Just Talk. I want to say he has also been on Map 5, retired imam from Philadelphia. And
Yes,
when I say
Imam Muhammad Abdul Alim, he will be on Not Just Talk this coming Thursday, and
okay,
he's going to be on Map 5 tomorrow.
okay. He said, and I can't remember, I want to say he said this on Map 5, and Sister Cheryl, you can correct me if I'm wrong, about his travels around to different masjids around the country. And he said two things. And understand now, he's an older brother. Not old. Number one, he said he walks into a lot of masjids and he thinks it's in the old folks' home. That's number one, demographic. Number two is he said that there are a lot of imams leading our communities that they need to go sit outside. And Brother Adam, I know your hand is up. Sister Cheryl, am I off on that? Or
Not at all. Not
okay.
at all.
All right. Okay.
That was the day I was in there clapping like a train like a
Yes,
trained seal.
yes, ma'am.
Like a trained seal. Yes, sir. Yes,
All
sir.
right. All
I
right.
have
Well,
something to
Adam.
say, but I'll wait till
Okay.
after brother Adam because I wanted to say
Okay.
something to him. Yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
sister.
Edward, he called them performance imams.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Adam, you got the floor, brother.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Alaikum
Alaikum
assalam.
salam.
Um, being around when the man made that statement in terms of autonomy, and I don't think us not having the demographics of our community of who follows who is a question for autonomy. I think it's just bottom line, either you do or either you don't. The autonomy issue is for one thing. There are people in, let's say, use my city for instance, in Fayetteville. We have a masjid there. We have a treasury there. We make decisions there in how to conduct our Islamic life in this city. No one in Texas, Jersey, or anywhere else has a vote in terms of how we operate our community. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
That makes perfect sense. And let me interrupt
That
you just for a
is,
second. Adam, let me interject this just for real quick. When I talk about census numbers, it has nothing to do with either who follows who or who believes what or any of that or the autonomy issue. I want simply the raw numbers, and there's a reason that I would like to have the raw numbers. I don't care about the other stuff. I don't even care about the whole Chicago thing with Mosque Cares. I don't care about any of that anymore.
well,
I
maybe,
simply want to know the numbers of people who say that they are part of our community and who they are. That's it. And I'll let you continue.
which is the same, which is going on with what I said. That has nothing to do with autonomy that the imam spoke about.
Agreed. Because
All right, that has,
I'm not even on the autonomy issue anymore. I don't care about
well,
it.
when you mentioned that earlier, we were on the autonomy issue. That's why
Right. And if you
I want to
remember, I
say that. We
said
were on the autonomy issue.
I've divorced myself from it. I don't care about that anymore.
All right, but I'm just explaining what the autonomy was. It was a question of what it was about. And it was about, and we came, during that time, we came to a direct situation where it was applied the way I'm talking about. We had an issue. One of the brothers in our masjid, or in our city anyway, took the issue nationally. And it got to the point where the Council of Imams, headed by Imam El-Amin at the time, contacted me and asked about the issue that was spread nationally. And it was agreed that they had no dog in the fight. They had no authority in the fight. But in order to get things clear, I agreed to meet with them, and our community agreed to meet with them with the understanding that they had no authority. You understand? Because we were autonomous. Our masjid was owned by a corporation whose members were members in the masjid who, and we put the language in the our bylaws that we are a community that follows the leadership of Imam W. Muhammad, and that our imam is of such. Whoever imam we selected would be that way. That was, again, part of our autonomy. So it shouldn't be a question of that. I mean, I think it's clear that I have no control over what happens in Dallas or Philadelphia or New York or Chicago, because I'm not a member of that community. They are all autonomous. And the reason it came about in that way, we lost a lot of so-called national property shortly after the death of Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because it wasn't seen as autonomous. It was all seen as owned by Chicago. You understand? So that was one of the first things the Imam did. You're autonomous. You stop the assault on our community assets. You know, I'm going to leave it like that.
Okay, I want to add to what Brother Adam has said.
Michael, can you make room, Sister Cheryl very
Yes.
nicely. Let Ada go. She has something to add, and then we'll come back to you.
Thank you, Brother Edward. But it's fine because I want what I have to say is, I mean, if Brother Michael is tale is related to what he just said, it might be more relevant because I wanna ask you something a little bit different.
Okay. All right,
Thank,
Michael.
thank you. Yes, I want to give a extended context to this idea of autonomy. Uh, I was asked during a certain structure of our association by the regional imam to put in a resume because the imam of Birmingham, Alabama, had some personal issues that he had to take care of. So they accepted me as a resident imam in Birmingham. And I later found out, I didn't ask at the time, but I later found out we were losing community property, massages. Imams were signing contracts whereby the Saudis were paying certain monies, but they lost their autonomy to the Saudis in this contractual, and we lost properties. uh, Imam Muhammad established this idea of autonomy because of the earlier focus under his father of being of centralized leadership, and how enemies of our establishment here in America, uh, because of centralized leadership, they could direct more easily their finances for disrupting the central leadership, because it was centralized. But autonomy would make it more difficult for them to disrupt our establishment here in America. But what what is contextualized as something, a former announcement or pronouncement of Imam Muhammad, was he spoke to on a number of occasions, public occasions, that we had sufficient people among us to vet the new leadership. Now, I didn't mean that it was necessarily centralized, but in terms of holding us together in a way that you're speaking of, Brother Edward. Understanding the numbers, having the vision kept alive and promoted in our circle, that we needed to look to transitional leadership. And he said we had people who could vet that leadership, and it's by Shura. You know, uh, we're not using Shura Bainahum to the best of its possibilities, and because of that, we've got these situations that we've been speaking of, and that there's certain movements we have to have, and the Imam said that the imams and the political operatives are not enough for what we need. Builders. We need people like Brother Omar, and thought leaders like you, Sister Cheryl, and others. We cannot do it with resident imams and political operatives. We've got to have what communities have to have institutionally. Thank you.
Just
Okay.
Cheryl.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So I understood your question a little, or your statement a little bit different. So indulge me for just a moment because my experience doesn't date back to Imam Muhammad, and I'm not, and maybe I'm telling my age, but it doesn't date back that far. So I agree with you, Brother Edward. I think that the need for that kind of census is required, and I don't think those two I don't think they're inextricable, but I don't think they're tied together. I think you have to know what you're dealing with and who you're dealing with before you can start making decisions. And I don't think that has anything to do with tying down local masajids or local so-called communities. But I also think that, and this is my personal view, and I want to make that disclaimer, that when you look at every other community, whether it's a religious based or a ethnic based community, they don't do what you're doing right now. If you know, I come from I come from a culture where I don't care where you live, you figure out how to say, this is how Latinos gonna vote, or you know, an Asian culture say this is how Asian gonna vote. If you see an Asian last name, you're gonna vote for it. You see a Latino last name, you're gonna vote for it. I might not even like you, but we're gonna find some solidarity. We figure out how to cut each other down, and this is why there's no solidarity. No, this is my community over here in Florida, uh, Georgia, Pennsylvania, California, Southern California, Northern California, Illinois, whatever. And then wonder why there's stagnation. I called for a national Islamic Muslim agenda for United States.
Yes.
I
Yes.
called for this a couple of years ago, that we need to get together and come up with an agenda for United States Muslims. But if you're going to argue about I need to have my own say because I live in this particular state, or not just in that state, I live in this region, this city, in this state, it'll never happen. Because there's always somebody who wants to maintain their own control for their area. It's not about control. This is about making sure that you're not giving scraps from a table. I don't care about having a seat at the table. I want to build the table. I want the tools that you need to build the plans for the table. You want to be the architect. You want to own the manufacturing facility that is in control of the materials for the table. You don't want somebody giving you a chair. You don't know if those chairs' wheels are any good. You don't know if you sit in that chair, if you're going to fall to the ground. I don't want to depend on someone else giving me a seat. I don't want to depend on someone else giving me a table. I don't want to depend on someone telling me what time the meeting is. You show up at 3 o'clock and the meeting was at 1:30. They've already discussed all the important stuff by the time you walk into the room. We have to be, I'll tell you that saying, Miss Patricia, we have it in Spanish. Si no estás sentado en la mesa, está en el menú. O si no estás sentada a la mesa, alguien se ordenado para usted. It means if you're not seated at the table, not only are you on the menu, someone else is ordering for you.
Con mucho gusto.
I don't want someone ordering for me. I don't want someone determining the priorities for me or for the community. The last thing I'll say is this. Right now, there is a reckoning occurring. There's a reckoning occurring because not only are people speaking out, but women for the last 25 years, this Me Too moment, have finding their voice and they're finding the courage to speak out. And the latest is occurring, and I've been going through this, part of my travels right now, is with Miss Dolores Huerta, speaking out at 96 years old about the Cesar Chavez issue. And no one should be unaware of this right now. And the reckoning, for some, I don't know why they're surprised or shocked, because this is not new to the Latin American or the Latino or Mexican American culture. This is part of the culture. It's part of Black culture. It's part of Asian culture. It's part of indigenous culture. It's part of Muslim culture. It's part of Christian culture. It's part of Jewish culture, because women are commoditized in almost every culture. Women are treated as somebody's body, some body, rather than a human being. And so this is not a surprise to women as it is to other people. So we have a reckoning. And when I get on these calls and I listen to people idolize human beings, including Imam Muhammad, including Elijah Muhammad, including Jesus on the Christian calls, I have a problem with that. So I wanted to tell you, stop this. Stop this rhetoric where we keep saying, oh, I'm in the community of, no, you're in an Islamic community. You're in a community that is living by the words of the Quran. Yes, Imam Muhammad may have been a leader, but he told you himself, don't idolize me. Stop idolizing people and idolize integrity and courage and resilience. Idolize being ethical. Do put that first and stop using people's names. This is all I'm going to, and that's why you can't get young people in the messages. I'm going to tell you this because I got 3 of them who will tell you they're tired of it. Their whole friendship base is telling us that. And the last thing I'll tell you is you can't do anything without politics. And you can't build policy without politics, and you can't have politics without policy. We need to get that straight in our community, that we need to learn about politics, but we also need to learn about policy. And I believe what Brother Edward is saying, bring us together. Bring us together. And that means everybody in every community. We need to be having a really good understanding of how we make decisions, how we make infrastructure decisions, so that we have community outcomes. But if we don't know what the community looks like, we can't come up with community outcomes. We can't have one community with a $500 million masjid and another one sitting in a tent in a shanty because these communities say they can raise money. Because all of us look bad. All of us look bad. We have to have a standard that we can. I have a saying, I'm a procurement officer. The standard is the standard. And we need to know our stuff. How much does it take? What's the money? How do we distribute? How do we store? How do we save? And how do we price? How is things priced so that everybody can benefit? That is a shura, from my understanding. And if we can't come together and come up with that national plan, we're going to be doomed. Yes, we may have some communities that thrive, and we're going to have others who are going to be looked at down. And that's, unfortunately, those who are failing is going to be the image that people see of American Muslims. Es todo. Gracias for listening.
Gracias.
Thank you, Sister Cheryl, and Sister Kalita's hand is up. I want to address a couple of things that you said, but I will wait. I will hold that. Sister Kalita?
No, go. I have Delilah. Go ahead while the iron is hot. Go ahead and speak to what Sister Cheryl
Well,
just said.
it's not that big a statement, so I'll be quick. So I personally would hold on to the idea of there being a community that is drawn together, hopefully, around Imam W.D. Muhammad's leadership as far as his ideas. So we're not, or at least I'm not, worshiping or idolizing a man. But I think he had great ideas. I think he had a great understanding of scripture, whether that be Quran or Bible or the Jewish text. And he ventured off into an understanding of some Eastern texts and philosophy, Buddhism, so on and so forth. Amazing mind. So when I use his name, I'm more thinking about people who are gravitating toward the way that he thought and the way that he interpreted the Quran as a building block for us to move forward as a community, right? Not the idea, idolizing him or putting a statue of him or anything of that nature. So for those who are listening, I want everybody to understand that. And I did not know, Sister Cheryl, that you had called for basically like a national convention. That's a fantastic idea. And I know we try to make a time to be grateful and all that kind of stuff, kind of our national party. But
Yeah.
there needs to be a more serious effort, in my judgment, a more
Yes,
serious effort
I
of
agree.
bringing us together to solidify some of the ideas that we have, the direction that would be best for, I don't care if we have shouting matches, direction that this community needs to do to be able to grow long term, have sustainability, but not just sustainability, that we're actually making progress, that we're actually having an impact on the community nationwide and worldwide. And I'm going to stop before I get myself in trouble. Sister Kalita, go ahead.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Sister Cheryl. Everyone here, thank you. I love diversity. I love perspective. One of the things that we get as feedback at Masjid Shahid, also, like Sister Cheryl was saying, especially from our African members that come as primarily during Jumal, and are also our immigrants, Muslims, and other people who, some of them didn't even hardly understand English, but when they got it translated, they had a concern of us also idolizing IWDM, because they thought when they were referring to Imam Muhammad, they were like, why would they call Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam Imam? And so they had that sit down talk with Imam Khalil Akbar, Rahimahullah, when he was still here, and he just explained to him the sentiments of the African American history. And a lot of those brothers, especially, looked up to him as a father image too, from the lack of that father in a home, and it goes deeper than just that community leadership. So it's also an attachment. It's an emotional attachment, a psychological attachment, a fatherly love attachment that they have for him. And so they proceeded with everything that they're doing, like IWD. Imam Muhammad said this or he said that, and we still see that. We still need that leadership and that guidance, but we also need that practical application piece. Like you're saying, we do need autonomy in the sense of thinking for yourself, studying, learning religion, as Sister Cheryl was saying, by studying the Holy Quran more. You can never learn enough. The Sirah and the Sunnah and the Usra of Prophet Muhammad, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and also taking that out into the world and building your brand, finding your identification. Who are you outside of this group of people? No, you're not leaving your group, but in order to bring something back that's sustainable and able to be built, you have to define who you are as an individual, what is your purpose? What are you bringing to this society as a whole? You're going to bring that back to your community. So we need to make sure that we know who we are in the very core of us. Why do we feel this way? Why are we so attached now? We love him. He has something that can remake the world. In a sense, business, education, culture, and government, also spiritually, intellectually, emotionally, not just for African Americans, for the whole world. But we have to be able to put it in a way that we can not only explain it, but live it out through Shore Banahue, again, in education, business, education, culture, and government, and also from just learning and becoming the best version of ourselves. That's a basis for a lot of why we do certain things. And we know we have to acknowledge why we need it too, because even I'm taking a course with Imam Bashir Ali, Imam Mubashir Uqta, and Imam Salahuddin Muhammad, and they talked about the methodology that the Nation of Islam used. They had to wake up a people who were downtrodden. They had low self-esteem. They were broken in every means of broken. They did reverse psychology, even saying that the black man was God. They knew that wasn't true, but to wake up, they had to use certain strategies to get the people to even believe in themselves. at the basic level for them to even make that effective change. So we're looking at a group of people who have been oriented a specific way, but now they're on the right track. And inshallah, if we work with people and our other Muslims from around the world that may not have had that type of orientation, that can bring other things to the table that can enhance our growth and development, like Sister Cheryl, we would love to work with that. So thank you so much with you. Assalamu alaikum.
Michael, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you. I talk with Imam Ronald B. Shaheed on a regular basis. I even distribute some of the books that he has published of Imam Muhammad's thinking insights into the Quran, not only into the Quran, but into how the world operates. And Imam Ronald has been one of three people who, in the latter days of Imam Muhammad's life, met on a regular basis where Imam Muhammad wanted to share in that setting things that he didn't want to leave on the table upon his passing. So they recorded these sessions, and Ronald was one that collaborated with Imam Nasser Ahmed out of Miami, who is a transcriber, to publish these private sessions. And I bring that forward because Imam Ronald asked Imam the question in terms of how he was sharing insights in terms of how this world operates and speaks over the head of the people and is able to disrupt the natural development of our social life. And so Imam told Imam Ronald, I'm sharing this insight with you in terms of how the world operates, not that you're going to do anything about it. Another occasion, he said, his association and people who think like us, we're like Joseph in prison, as the Bible and the Quran speaks about Joseph, the prophet Joseph's imprisonment. But the response to the first question that I brought up, he said, "No, I don't expect you to do anything about it, but I hope that will move you to build Islamic community, to focus on building Islamic community here in America." And I'm going to say lastly that what we've been given in terms of the Quran and the example of Prophet Muhammad, if we're applying it, it puts us in a better organizational position to structure ourselves to help others who are not as structured or who have not been given the kind of uh, insights that we've been given to what Allah wants for our life. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good points. So one of the things that Sister Cheryl said a few minutes ago had to do with politics, and much more so than simply being politically active is actually understanding the political system and how it works. And when she was saying that, reminded me of something that a friend of mine said to me on Thursday, college professor, a buddy of mine. And we were talking about the whole Iran situation and everything else that's kind of going on in the Middle East and parts of Africa in particular. That's really started to bleed over into Asia as well, if you're following things. And that he was talking about a former prime minister of Jamaica. He had read this gentleman's book, and I don't remember that particular prime minister at the time, but it was when Jamaica as a country made a decision. Everything there is built around tourism for the most part, some agriculture. but he wanted the country to stand out in a particular area that would capture the attention of the world. And they came to the decision that they were going to build a world class, not just track as an athletics track, running track, infrastructure system, but they were going to, in particular, concentrate on sprinting. Whatever science, whatever new technology, like equipment technology, training methodologies, diet, whatever needed to be done, that they were going to set aside the monies to do that. And today, tourism is still great, but Jamaica is known in the Olympics and World Championships for both their male and their female sprinters. Not the long distance runners, not their pole vaulters. They're sprinters. And I haven't read the book, so I'm going on what Chris explained to me, is that they looked at their country as a whole and decided, maybe erroneously, that they were not going to be in the short term be able to stand out in the sciences or mathematics or literature or whatever. And I'm sure they have wonderful people in those areas as well, but not make the worldwide imprint. That was his particular dream. I'm imagining this was a very powerful politician in Jamaica at that time. But you have to know what your resources are. You have to know what you have to be able to invest, and you have to understand not only local systems, but national systems and maybe international systems to decide on a path of direction and input into bringing about greatness and the type of influence that, again, this is just my judgment, that we should have. And probably I'll get some pushback on this because my worldview of the Islamic community on a worldwide basis is that if you came to me today and you said to correct these issues that the worldwide Ummah has, who would you select from to start the process of curing these ills and setting the correct path? Not a new path, the correct path. I would start with African Americans in the United States, and then I would probably go to Malaysia and Indonesia and maybe parts of the Caribbean and Central America. And I would not waste an hour looking for anybody in the so-called Middle East or Africa. To set the correct path forward for al-Islam. Michael?
Yes, I would agree. And Imam Muhammad was conscious that what Allah in his mercy had shared with us in terms of Quranic insight, the logic. When we talk about the the logic of Imam Muhammad, we're talking, he says, I don't speak unless I speak from scripture. Allah had favored him to understand the logic of the Quran and how it connects with Mother Nature, with the life that supports our human life. And oftentimes people, mistake that, you know, the students are speaking. Well, I'll just put it this way. The way you see Imam Muhammad is the way I see him, and but the Imam was very much aware that this miraculous language, I'm going to use this kind of terminology, the miraculous language is no good. It's like Jesus speaking from the cradle, unless we have a material backing. We got to have resources. And that's why I'm so thankful that Brother Omar is here to help us transition from this consumer mindset to an investment mindset. And Prophet Muhammad talked about resources that they should be developed. The wealth should be developed like the full moon. And the moon goes through phases. So this is not a sprint situation or a microwave situation. This is this has to be done in phases, and that's what you're addressing. We have to have priorities set, uh, and they should be priorities set based on the Quran, because the Quran represents the best practices. In the narratives and the questions, in the commands, the standards that are set that are universal, as well as the pattern, recognizing the patterns that Allah has given us for proper establishment. And I'm not mad at anybody. I don't argue. I put up what I understand to be the truth, and I'm not going to go back and forth with you. I'm not mad at you. Okay, Allah tells us to go forward as in a race, and the way I'm looking at this race, and you mentioned racing, sprinting. We're being given the insights into how to be long distance runners. This is going to take us into this is a generational movement towards establishing Prophet Muhammad's model of using the Word of God to make the best life for ourselves. Thank you.
District Kalila, your hand is up again.
Yes, assalamu alaikum. I meant to mention that one of the reasons why we have some leaders that need to be, as it was said, sat down, is because we have a lot of people who are theoretical, very intelligent, highly educated, but they don't know how to implement the practical application piece, or we're just too comfortable in our own communities, working a full-time job, or establishing our businesses and taking care of our families, which is a beautiful thing and yes, is a priority. However, outside of that, we're not doing much as far as growing and building the community. And what I've experienced, you have that on one hand. On the other hand, you may have somebody who may not have all of the shine and the character development, and they may have even been incarcerated. But what they do have is the know-how, the grassroots ability to build something from scratch, to get down if you knock them down and keep going. And so there are the ones a lot of times that are taking the leadership on, especially head on, especially the ones that with the age gap that we have, the ones that are able to create nonprofits, build relationships with different diverse groups of Muslims, go buff their floors, make money on the side, have a t-shirt shop here, have I know Imam Abdulaziz Ashifa Incorporated. He built that with his wife, Sister Faja. I don't know her last name, but I know she returned to Allah during COVID. So may Allah grant her peace. But she's the one that started um, the food pantry, Faja Tyson. And so, with that said, I see a lot of people doing things in our community and leading the way, and doors are open in other avenues where they may not be qualified. Look, customer service, community interaction, dealing with people's emotions and feelings and counseling. They may not have the disposition for that, but because they're forefront in so many other things, the door is open because there's a lack of the people who have that. being outside of their own comfort zone in our own communities, not going and checking on the neighboring community or not being in contact with the regional conveners. And it's just the lack of people. So people tend to go where they can get that immediate help. Food, clothing, and shelter, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Who's given that consistently? No matter what, that you would want to go to the person who's consistently acting. So therefore, that those type of we just have to have a checks and balances system because we need everybody. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but we have different qualifications. Some people don't need to be meeting and directing people orally, or having meetings of the mind in terms of family and community life. We all need that, but there's some people who are better able to communicate effectively, to work with diverse amounts of people, to do it with a regardful and sensitive nature as a portion of, as opposed to rash and brash, get it now, foul language, etc. What comes with it sometimes when there's an overwhelming need and there's not enough people helping. So our imams, we need our leadership, especially our maintainers and protectors, to reevaluate and assess what is actually out here, where they can fit in, and where they can, even though that person may not be, as some people say, on their level, or they may not know how to deal with certain dispositions and attitudes and flamboyancy. Find a meeting of the minds where you can identify those people who have that skill set because it is needed. If you're in Bronx, New York, you need a person who's able to get grassroots. You're getting people coming out of incarceration and not just incarceration, because we have very good people on everywhere who have excelled past people who have never been incarcerated. My father used to say, those are just the people who got caught. But anyway, there are people who, what I'm trying to say, that have certain skill sets for community building and advancement. And they believe enough in themselves without even a degree sometimes to go out and make something happen. And those are the people that Allah blesses. Allah says, move forward heavily or lightly equipped. And then I see on the opposite side, we have these theoretical discussions. I'm theoretical, I like it, but I still try and I do to manifest it in the community. I'm giving it back at a teaching level. I'm working in child development centers, Sister Clara Muhammad schools, and with my own family, and also on the masjid staff with the imam. If everyone would find their niche, get in where you fit in, and then comply with the leadership. I know Imam Bashir Ali, Mubashir Al-Gupta, and Imam Salahuddin Muhammad aren't the only ones that have the capability of organizing leadership structure, but that is the step in the right direction. We need to know who's running our masjids. We need to know what type of family life they have. And if they're able to handle the whole four components, or they just need to be over on this community development and production part and being counseled to deal with people on other levels. But just some organization, please. We need that because the lack of people being involved. Hey, we get what we get, and we have to go with the best of who's serving. And if everybody adds their not their little, but their expertise, we can all evolve and become better. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
I yeah,
Man,
I appreciate Michael. I see your hand. I'll be a second. What Sister Khalid just said is dead on. What we don't have in getting there in many cases is that we don't have any systems in place to help us get there. We don't, to the best of my knowledge, we don't have assessment tools in our masjid communities as a whole. Now, some of them I'm sure they do, and they're identifying individuals within those communities that can offer certain things to the community. And they're approaching them in the right way, and they're making sure that those individuals have the right mindset for dealing with that population and so on and so on. And where that's happening and where it's happening in a positive way needs to be reproduced in areas that it's not happening. And when you have a knowledge of who your people are, what your resources are, where are the areas of need, it's much easier to address that. Now, I know CWSC, to a certain extent, tries to address that in the volunteer where you can go on and you can basically volunteer community wide with whatever your areas of expertise. You can go say in there you're a therapist or that you do this or you do that, and people can access that. How often that's used and actually truly accessed, I have no idea. But I know that that is a step in the right direction of being able to identify individuals in our community that have something to give. And obviously, that's something you need to do on an individual community basis. And in those communities, there need to be assessment programs, training programs to make sure that what's being done is being done at the absolute highest level. And it reminds me of a discussion in serial property that I heard maybe 4 or 5 months ago. And they were talking about when the Muslims conquered Medina or Mecca, I'm sorry, when they conquered Mecca. And basically to make sure that Mecca would now be set in the right path and that Mecca would be successful, is he brought the Medina model to Mecca for everything. Everything that they were doing that was successful in Medina, we brought that model to Mecca and put it in place. And one of the unique, I guess, roles you would say that he had instituted in Medina was someone in the community that was over the collection of zakat. Zakat being the centerpiece of the economic model of Medina. So he's bringing that to Mecca. He chose a young man who was 19 to 20 years old to be in control of the collection of zakat. And that meant going out and actually assessing, how much of these camels, how much of these goats worth, how much is that pottery worth, how much of these carpets worth, everything, the wealth of the population. And then properly collecting that zakat, and then over distribution of that zakat. Now, that wasn't one of those things where, yeah, we're going to put you in charge of this. And then, Prophet Muhammad walked away from that young man and said, figure it out. No, there was an assessment to choose that young man. And then there was a training or education process to make sure that that young man had the tools that he needed to go and do that very important role correctly. Michael, go ahead.
Yes, sir. That's the kind of insight that we need. And it's coming. And there's certain people that have that have the skill sets, but the community vision in terms of how they can apply it it maybe hasn't come to them, or there's some other obstacle that's preventing them from bringing that skill set forward. But you know, we've got what we need. Oftentimes, I will say to myself and to other people, we just need Allah to give us an attitude adjustment. And he certainly knows how to get our attention. But we have a tendency as African Americans to say a thing as though it exists. I don't know if that's coming from the church or where that's coming from. We're saying things, in a kind of Pollyannish kind of way and not looking at the reality on the ground. But Allah knows how to, and I think this present environment that we're in is going to help us to sober up and help the manhood to be further established. As the saying goes, hard times produce strong men. Uh, Good times produce weak men. And then it's cyclical. So I think we're coming into a situation now, we're already here, where manhood is going to be brought out of us, and again, it's not a numbers thing, you know. A small band, according to God's word, a small band with a superior strategy will be successful. So, alhamdulillah, we just have to be patient. And as Allah says, the believers we have to remind one another because we're under assault in terms of our attention, our time. Satan knows that we're not going to give up our faith in God, but he's got all these, I almost cursed. We've got all these distractions, pulling at us, information overload. So we have to remind one another, what God says and that He's the best planner. So let's use His plan. The best practices are in the Quran. The best example of how to apply the practices, the procedural integrity is within Prophet Muhammad's example. How to proceed, how to apply the Quran to politics and governance, how to apply the Quran to the culture, to the business practices. How do we purify the business practices in terms of an Islamic economic system? And lastly, the the model of a directional language, following the directional language that the Quran presents to us, as Monday at 10 o'clock Pacific and 1 o'clock Eastern, Imam Muhammad Abdul Alim will provide. And we've got individuals that are up in age, but as he said, Imam Abdul Alim, we've been sages on the stage. We've had a lot of influence in that way, but now we have to be guides on the side. And I'll stop with that.
All right. Adam, your hand is up, and then Sister Cheryl.
Assalamu alaikum.
Like,
Oh, about that.
Alaikum assalam.
Is the purpose of the Council of Imams to go around the different masjids and try to get imams that they consider to be ineffective to sit down?
No,
Is that the purpose of it?
no.
No,
Okay, I didn't think it was. All right.
I
So
have
maybe,
talked. I have talked with the head of the Council of Imams and the Southern Regional Imam in terms of the need for the focus on critical issues and inviting the resourceful men and women that understand these issues into applying their skills to help us move forward.
well, are they applying, if they're resourceful and they have that, are they applying the skills anywhere?
I think the proof of the pudding is in the tasting.
For somebody to make that determination, evidently they're applying the skills somewhere. Otherwise, how do you know what they got?
Again, we need assessment tools, like Brother Edward said.
Yeah, I think there would need to be constant or consistent engagement
Yeah,
with
I
people
mean,
with people in our community. So, like Adam, in your case, there in Fayetteville, your involvement in the community and interaction with people helps you to identify individuals that you think could be helpful in some way. And I'm not just talking about in the Islamic community. I'm talking about the community in general. And then we could narrow it down to the Islamic community to identifying individuals that people who are right-minded, who are good judge of character and intellect and all of these things, right? Could identify somebody, talk with that person, give them your thoughts, let them know where you think they could be helpful. Yeah. And then introduce them to the larger body to see if there's any kind of consensus or there's any kind of connection between that individual and the body as a
Let
whole, right?
me give you a quick example of that. Where I think that is I did the other couple weeks ago. So now our counselor, what do you call them? I forgot what they call the group. Anyway, our I
You're
forget the
not talking
conference.
about the
Anyway,
conven. You're not talking about the
no,
conveners.
no, no. I'm talking
Okay.
within our masjid,
Okay. You're
administrative council,
sure board?
administrative council.
Okay. Okay.
And there's one sister. She helps work for me, and they every time they need something, they be calling her up. They be killing her, even to the point of I think she thinks because we're doing it for the masjid, she can do it on my time. You feel me?
Understood.
So I asked her, I said, well, sister, why don't you join the administrative council? Well, I need to get you on the administrative council. So I found out that now that all the administrative council are men. So I went to the imam and I went to the council. Y'all need to bring that sister on the administrative council, right? Because she was making them look good. So that's the point of identifying a resource and then working to get her on the council. Otherwise,
Exactly.
they'd have worked her to death on my dime.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, and that
go ahead.
what you just described is what needs to be that needs to be at the core of everything that we do in every area of, say, our collective life as Muslims.
Hmm.
That needs to be at the core of it. And to your previous question about the conveners of imams and their role, their role should be educational. I mean, hopefully you're in that position because your character is high, your intellect is a certain level, but most importantly, your understanding of Quran and Sunnah is at a level that you can impart enough wisdom in people that you interact with. And these are probably going to be at a certain level more than just somebody like me who sits on the floor. They're probably going to spend more time talking to, state imams and local imams and things of that nature. But hopefully they're able to guide those individuals that need guidance into being better leaders at the community level, and who in turn can turn to somebody like me and give me better guidance so that the entire community grows. And obviously, that then turns around from the grassroots, from people who's just sitting on the floor, of being more connected, having a better understanding of the direction that the community needs to go, that then they start a bigger push toward that direction, and give whatever they used to say, wind under your wings or whatever to the leadership to aspire to do more and that type of thing. Sister Cheryl, get me out of that mess I was about to get myself into.
Oh, goodness. I was just going to add something that one of you said earlier. Lisa, one of the things that I hope to see besides the call for a unified agenda is um, I'm working on this in the greater community of United States, Black people in the United States, is making sure that we can be collective in our political education, but also I think that for Muslims, I would like to also see, I'm an American Muslim elected and appointed officials network. One of the things that is lacking on that front as well It's this ability to get together and say, this is who we're going to get behind, right? And I don't think getting behind someone just because they say that they're a Muslim is enough. I go back to telling you about policy and political wherewithal. Sometimes someone says that they're Muslim and they think that that's should be enough. But when I look and say, what is your ability to, I don't like the word viability because it's not a good word because it's based on these white supremacist systems of what it looks like to survive in this white supremacist system. However, not understanding how the political system works does us no good. You do have to have, like Brother Keith Ellison, for instance, understands this system that we're working in. So being able to come together and say as a national body, we're going to endorse this brother for another term as the Minnesota AG, Attorney General, it makes a statement, if you follow me. And what that comes with, not only money, but support, especially when you use it. It's things like that. Andre Carson, coming out of Indiana, is another one who's been in the political realm and understands what that looks like. And, there's several of us who've been running, Josh Shahid, myself, Brother Fleming. There's people who've been in this political realm. And then you have a few people, I'm not going to say their names, but I know we have some, especially here in California, who run and then they'll tell you they're Muslim and then you look at the platform and I'm just going to be honest. I can be honest on here. I know I'm being recorded, but I don't care. And may you gag. Because we have one down in Southern California who changed his beautiful name, Bilal, to Bill. Bill. How you change Bilal to Bill? And he's been appointed by this administration as a judge in Southern California, and he's undoing all the work that many of us have been doing, a lot of hard work, not just on immigration rights, but on rights for many of the that look like the people on this call, on this meeting, in the criminal legal system, on women's rights, and women's rights, I mean to just period. Going back to what I said earlier, that we are more than just, somebody. And children, not protecting the children and just stripping away rights, period. And he's a Muslim. Well, he calls himself a Muslim. So I think we have to be careful with, again, as I said to you before, about tags and really vetting people. But at the same time, it's a tight rope to walk between judging people and vetting them. But I do think that as we call for this national agenda, we also need to be having this talk about how do we make sure that that we are creating this space to have representation for our general ummah. And I don't just mean it's school board or special district or city council. I mean making sure that we have, they have the same no taxation without representation. And we are paying a lot of taxes without representation. But we have to do it smart. We have to do it, I call it stealth mode. We don't need, it's great for Ilan, it's great for Rashida. And, they're out there, they're loud and prominent. Everybody doesn't have to do that. But we can get some more Muslims. We got Sister Latifah Simon into Congress when Miss Barbara Lee retired because she was running for state senate and she retired. That seat opened up. We got Sister Latifah Simon in, and she's the third woman Muslim, fourth Muslim in Congress. And most of the people here in, I'm not in Northern California right now, but most of the people in the district did not know she was Muslim. That's the way we need to roll. It does not take away her being Muslim because she didn't run as that. She just ran on her platform, and her platform was full of all of the values we value as Muslims, but it was also full of the values that district value. That's the way you run. She's still Muslim. She's still who she is. And some of the people, when they found out later, when I was talking to her about something, one of her breakfasts, they were like, "Oh, I didn't know she was Muslim." I said, "Does it change your opinion of her?" No, it does not. I still support her. That's how we run. And that's how we get people in office. And we can do it 1, 2, 3, 4 at a time. We just pick, be strategic. Be strategic. And that's what that, Brother Edward, this is what I'm talking about. That convening, a national level convening we need to have. Because we can talk about that there. We just need to be cognizant of who is in the room. Because I don't want any bills. No Bilal's, aka Bills, in the
It's
room.
it's hard to keep them out though.
I know, but we have
It's
to.
really hard to keep them out.
I understand that, and I agree with you. That's why we have to just know and be cognizant of, these people who will be Judases.
Right. So
Exactly. It's
my,
todo.
my Michael, I see your hand is up. My way of dealing with that is this, and I've always said this. I said it first about issues involving African Americans in the United States, is that
Mhm.
there's never been legislation passed to benefit African Americans that did not benefit the entire country.
Right.
Everybody caught that and wrote it. That kite that was flying with our name on it, everybody grabbed on and that kite pulled them through the sky. Anything, if we truly go by Quran and Sunnah in determining our objectives for better community life in the United States of America and worldwide, let's see it, the United States of America, whether that's rights for women, it's rights for the elderly, it's enough pay to actually be able to afford to live a decent life, if it's health care, whatever it is. If we have a platform that is brought from best understanding of the Quran, Sunnah, the Prophet, Sirah, the Prophet, tafsirs that we are familiar with and can agree with, and you have that as a platform, Bill will walk out of the room because Bill
Right.
can't sign his name to it. Okay,
Correct.
right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It's like
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It's like the Charter of Medina. There were signatures on the Charter of Medina. I'm sure there were some people who went and got on their camel and rode home without signing it because they
Right.
didn't want to agree to it,
Right.
or for whatever reason. Rights it gave women, the fact that it included Jews, whatever the case may be. They couldn't agree with it. Bill will walk out. You don't have to worry about Bill anymore if we do it correctly. Michael?
Yes, thank you. Go ahead, go
Mike,
ahead, go ahead.
Michael, before you say anything, I just
Go
wanted to
ahead.
tell you, I just
Yes,
wanted to say something to you. Hard times produce strong men, weak times produce weak women, small men with a superior strategy. It's hard times produce strong men and women,
yes,
strong women. Weak times produce weak men and weak women.
yes.
I just wanted to help you out with that quote.
I
And then
appreciate that. I appreciate
small
that.
men and small women with a
I got it.
superior strategy. That's all. I just wanted to
Th-
say
Thank you. I appreciate you.
that.
I need all the help I can get. My comment is related to in the political realm, we have these rules where your idea is not even considered unless you have a second. We've got to learn how to support those people that have a better approach. The Quran talks about lands as a metaphor, lands that are side by side, but one parcel of land is able to produce better. It speaks about fruits that are of varying qualities. Some fruits more excellent, you know, more excellent types of bananas, apples, and so on and so forth. So it's given us these picture language narratives to help us to see how we should structure ourselves. So in terms of uh, what God's prophet tells us to make alliances, then we know like minds and like sentiments. We don't identify knowledge capital as this is Muslim knowledge capital, but this is human knowledge capital. And if we proceed with that way, not push forward the idea of Muslim so much, but put forward the idea of ethical men and women who have high standards. And I think that's the approach. The commonality is so important. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's one of the things that several of the lectures of Imam Deputy Muhammad that I listened to, that he said he could get his ideas on al-Islam across without ever mentioning Islam or saying Muslim or any of those things, right? The the underlying message, obviously, for those of us who read and understand Quran, is universal.
That's
You know,
right.
you don't have to come out and say this is a Muslim idea. No, this is an idea for the betterment of the entire world, all peoples, period.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? So it just really becomes a question of when we're taking that language and we're putting it into policy statements or platform or whatever, is how do you express it
Yes,
in,
exactly.
in, in terms that people are going to gravitate to it, and it's simply being an idea, not a Muslim idea, not a
Yes.
Buddhist idea, not a Hindu idea, but just a wonderful idea. This is something that I can get behind.
Yes.
And some of the I'm familiar with Andre Carson. Obviously, most of us are all familiar with Keith Ellison. Their expression of their vision of the United States of America, and it at its best. Well, I mean, because I know their background. I can visualize the Quran as being the platform or the foundation on which they stand and they make these statements. I would have agreed with them before I ever knew anything about Islam in the same way, which is part of their ongoing popularity and their ability to be elected and reelected to the posts that they hold. And probably across the board, if I went and looked at other uh, popular Muslim politicians, I would find the same thing. I would be able to say the same thing about them. Is that they have found that voice that allows them to take Quran and Sunnah and all that and express it in a way that all people can gravitate to and have an understanding of it.
That should be the goal. Prophet Muhammad established Muslim as being a true human being. And so that should be the focus, the excellence of our humanity, our moral and ethical expression, in application, day to day.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. And like I said, we have a on AM 360 in particular, and then on hopefully people could say the same thing just about Graceline, the things that we talk about and the things that we are trying to do through Graceline, same thing, is that coming from that perspective of this is a universal message for the universal man and woman who simply wants the best experience out of this life before you ever get to the spiritual or the, thinking of the afterlife. If you believe that life ends, period, done, end of story, with just your existence, your physical existence on this earth, you should still look at what Al-Islam teaches you is how to live as
That's
the
right.
absolute best approach to having that wonderful experience that you're after.
I agree.
If it's expressed in the right way, I don't see how someone can argue with it. Right?
That's
I
what the
mean,
Quran
really,
says.
if you break it down, now you may say, well, okay, can I have a glass of wine just every now and then or something? But there's no argument that you could make that what the Quran espouses is not going to bring you the most joyful life, period. So that this has been good. Reminder, map 5 is tomorrow at
10 o'clock Pacific,
10
1
o'clock
o'clock,
Pacific,
1 o'clock
one,
Eastern,
1 o'clock Eastern, noon Central Time. Not Just Talk is
8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific,
okay.
7 o'clock Central.
Narrative Aspirations, Sister Kalina, is drum roll if you're still there. I want to say it's seven. Is
Wednesday,
it 7 o'clock
Wednesday night.
Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday evening? And for those who are signed up, and if you're not signed up, get signed up. As one of my friends like to say about his podcast, it costs $8 a month. If you can't afford the $8 a month, give us a call. We'll help you out. So our financial program hosted by Brother Omar Muhammad is going to be Tuesday, March 31st at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Central Time. And Tuesday will be session 2 of a 5-session seminar series that will be repeated in the future. The cost for the seminar and the workbook is $75. But as Omar said, if you're having an issue with the $75, let us help you out. Contact Omar and work something out with him. We'll make it work for you. And that's all I have. And wow, this has been great. I'm sure we could probably go on for another hour. But some of us have to make prayer soon. So I am going to ask Michael Hameen, who has been such a big contributor this morning and afternoon, to close us out.
We make a supplication to Almighty God Allah. Oh Allah, guide us among those you've guided aright. Save us among those you save. Bless us in whatever you give us, and deliver us from the harm that you judge. You judge, and none can judge against you, and those whom you befriend are not disgraced. Ameen.
I
I
mean,
mean, wonderful, fantastic. Everybody go enjoy the rest of your day and see most of you again really soon.
Thank you again.
Thank
Assalamu
you.
alaikum.
Like awesome.